Hello everyone, this is Rod Graham, your neighborhood sociologist. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about an article I wrote that was received quite well. Got more reads, views, clicks than I think any article that I've ever written. Now, it got those views on Medium, but what you're seeing right now is my Substack. I have a series I'm working on, Some Things Your Sociologist Never Told You. Now, that series no one's going to read, but I love writing those things. It's my profession, it's my job, it's my calling. But the article that got the attention was this one. The moment I understood the anger towards woke. So my usual practice is to write on Substack and house my things there, and then post them else in other spaces. So my go-to spot now is Medium. That's where I post it, and on Medium, it wasn't even boosted. Those who know about Medium, some of the editors there, they'll pick an article and they'll put it as part of their daily best reads or something, and those tend to get a lot of views. This one wasn't even boosted, so I don't know how it kind of trickled out and became something that people read, but they did, and it's wonderful. The article is about this series. It's called Renaissance: The Blood and the Beauty. It was a actually it's not about the series. It's my reaction to the series, but the series provides the fodder for the piece. So this is about Renaissance era Italy, or what became Italy, and the lives of Michelangelo, Raphael, and Leonardo da Vinci. That actor in the bottom left is the one who played Michelangelo, and he narrates the piece like it's told through him, but it's about all three. Okay, all right. So when I watch this, and now let me switch to the Medium one, because this is the one that anyone can find, probably easier than my Substack. My Substack gets paywalled after a while. This one will always be available, especially if you're well, I guess it's not always available because you'd have to be a member. Well, okay. Anyway, so maybe getting it from my Substack is best. But this Medium is where it got the views. It got 1.8 thousand. It's pretty good as of now. Okay, so as I was watching this, so this piece is called "The Moment I Understood the Anger Towards Woke." As I was watching that series, I started catching feelings. So now it's a great series. I liked it. But I felt that wokeness, I'm using woke here pointedly because I know that's what people understand. But really, I saw an emphasis on diversity. I saw an emphasis on inclusion, right? But I'm just using woke here to kind of catch the viewer and reader's eye, and also immediately people understand what I mean, I think. So I was watching this documentary, and it was great, and docudrama, and the commentators were of all sorts, very diverse group, right? So you had a independent black researcher from Britain, you had an Italian and black movie director who had done some movie about that era. You had queer scholars, you had differentially able scholars, people who are talking. Those of us who watch documentaries a lot, that's really important to the quality of the show, is to have these experts or commentators come on. And Ken Burns does this all the time. That's one of the things that makes his documentaries so good. You have these people come on, and they seem to be telling you, almost giving it a sense of urgency. I like that in documentaries. So, in any case, I was like, wow, this is unexpected. All that diversity. It was just unexpected, Of course, there are also white male professors and artists talking, and so it wasn't like they just gave us all of the inclusion categories and that's it. It was a cross section of scholars and artists and stuff, whatnot. But for some reason, I caught feelings. It seemed as if it was being pushed on me, and so I wrote about it. And the point of this piece was not to rail against wokeness, although I think that's what people thought. I actually want to move. You don't need to see that. I'll make me a little bigger now because no one's reading that article from this screen. So I'll just put this here and talk, I guess. The point of that piece was not to make some statement about the evils or dangers of wokeness or progressive overreach or anything like that. It wasn't. It was more of a psychological or sociological explanation as to why it is that people have a problem with what is in the abstract a good thing. At least I think it is. Diversity, inclusion. Like why would that even be something to get mad at? And so this was my explanation, right? When I was in my 20s and 30s, I loved, well, the same things I like now. Like I like history. I liked military history, and I liked art history, and I liked society and culture and this kind of stuff. So I would watch documentaries then. And a couple of them that I mentioned in the piece, and I also read history books. So I mentioned in the piece that I liked Will and Ariel Durant's Story of Civilization series, especially the Pulitzer Prize winning volume on Jean-Jacques Rousseau. In fact, I think it was the reading of that volume that got me into being a sociologist. So I love that. I actually still listen to that audiobook now. Sometimes when I want to go to sleep at night, not because it's boring, it's just interesting, but I go to sleep listening to it. So there's that one. And then there's this British historian, Kenneth Clark. He did a documentary series called The History of Civilization. I listened to that. I have that at home. Anyway, and several more. But that is what built my expectation of what a documentary should look like. You see. When I was in my 20s and 30s and I was learning what to expect from a documentary, it was that. People talking, just the facts. That's actually not what's happening. I mean, it's never just the facts, but this is what I was thinking at the time. It's these white men in starched white shirts and blazers or sport coats standing up talking and giving me just the facts about the world. This is what happened, Greek civilization did this. What a fascinating time. No talk of sexuality or race or gender, none of that kind of stuff. That just wasn't a part of how those things were done. Those nonfiction works in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, and maybe even early 2000s. So my anger was because my expectations were violated. It wasn't because there's some right or wrong here. It's really not about progressive overreach. It appeared to me as if it was an imposition because I was not expecting to see that. In the piece, I continue talking about this, and there's a section where I talk about Michelangelo is gay or something like that. Like that was the subtitle of a section in the piece, I think, or something like that. Well, you know what? I can just find it since I'm here. Let me move this down. Let me get that. Yeah, Michelangelo is gay. I'll just say it. So at that point in the documentary, there was a commentator. This was a queer studies professor. I don't know, or maybe the professor was queer but was an art historian. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that queer was in there somewhere, right? And so she was talking about how at the time there were a lot of gay artists, as they are now, but obviously they couldn't really be out like they are now. And so she kind of talked about it, and then she just said Michelangelo is gay. I'll just say it. He was gay, okay, this type of thing. And it was like an affront to me. Not that I have any problem with gay folks or queerness or anything. It was an affront because in this particular context, it seemed odd. Why is that important? Well, of course it is, because that who the artist is will impact what they produce. In fact, they make that connection in the documentary by pointing out how I was about to say Michael Jackson, how Michelangelo drew and painted male figures, right? So they were kind of making a connection, but it was an imposition to me. Why are they doing this? So, I mean, you get the point now. I was expecting something, a certain presentation in a certain context. You can even say a certain script. And I didn't get that. And I needed to explain it in some way because we don't like things that are unexpected. And we get a little upset about it. So I end the piece by saying that I understand the anger towards woke now. And at the end, I think, yes, I talk about my countervailing lived experiences. Um, so before I say that, though, oops, something wrong here. Before I talk about that, let me just branch this out from myself to society in general. I think that this is the standard set of feelings that a lot of folks get when they went to school and they had a certain set of experiences, and then all of a sudden they see something on X where, oh, they're teaching about what in schools now, gay what, queer what, trans what, and so you start catching feelings, you get upset, but it's not because what you did in your school 30 years ago was necessarily better, unless there's some external measure. Of course, you can say that, but generally speaking, the experiences we have are just ours. We like them because we experience them, and we associate them with positive things. But it's not as if it's inherently good or bad. So what teachers are doing now in schools by including race and gender and all these things is not inherently bad. It's just a different way. So you went to school in 1980 or something. You're going to hate what's going on today, and you'll glam onto the idea of wokeism and progressive overreach because it's the feelings, the underlying feelings, that then power looking for a certain type of explanation, right? You don't want the explanation that says this is okay, you're the one who's a problem. You have to find the explanation someplace else. So you settle on, well, this is silly wokeness, progressive overreach, and da da da. Now I ended the piece, and so that's a national thing. Imagine if in so many areas of life you have a person. Let's say that they are a Christian heterosexual white male, and they're watching television and they're seeing what seems to be things that just aren't about you, and you go to church, things are different. You take your kids to school, things are different. You see a television show, it's different. After a while, you're gonna get so upset you might vote for a crazy person to be president. I don't know. I'm just kind of fooling around. Donald Trump is not crazy. He's the person that they want. It's so fine. I mean, he's my president too. We'll live with it. But I think that the reason why they would lower their standards like that, or if you don't want to think in those terms, they would choose someone who is so authoritarian and charismatic and charismatic and authoritarian, because they think he can solve that problem, alleviate those emotions. This is my understanding of things. Okay, so let me wrap this up. I don't actually, or I didn't come to the same conclusion that the anti-woke folks did, that this is some serious problem destroying society. I didn't, because I have countervailing lived experiences. So yes, I caught feelings in that moment, but I have other experiences that suggest to me that these changes are good. And so that's the only thing that's preventing people like me from also finding problems with rapid social change. We can see the positives, or some of those changes are good for us, right? So I have these countervailing lived experiences. So the lived experience of watching that documentary and catching feelings will produce a certain negative explanation. But then I got all these other areas. I'm a black. It's just life is better for me in 2025 than it would have been in 1995. It's just no doubt about that. So I'm happy to live in this time, right? So anyway, let me wrap this up. If you want to comment, please do so. You can find that piece on Medium. You can find it on my Substack, and I will put the links in the show notes. Thank you for watching.